for being here. I'm listening to all the different
microphone.
Are we on? Okay, I was listening to different discussions from different parts of the world talking about the role of culture. So allow me to somehow explain where I'm coming from. When you decide to talk about culture, you have to make sure that you give culture an indifferent voice, because the language of culture is international, and that's what we need in our complex world today. Giving exhibitions, creating collections, and this is what we have been doing now for the last 40 years. I've been teaching in many universities, writing many books, and on the 8 different collections that we have collected, we have published about 40 volumes based on our collections, and been in major museums around the world, from Hermitage to British Museum in London and other major museums around the world. When you mix culture and politics, you get very bad culture and very bad politics. So you have to try to separate the two. Culture and education come together. The reason that you give exhibition or go to the museum is because you want to see the power of the art and educate yourself. So education and culture are going hand in hand. I was listening to the situation of Bilbao long ago, that I gave exhibition of our Spanish metal work belonging to Pablo Zuaga, one of the greatest past artists in the history of Spain. And I was not for the museum of Bilbao. We were in the National Museum of Bilbao. And I was reading this history of Bilbao and how Bilbao became from a very small port city, virtually unknown to the world, to what is it today. And the answer was very simple. The Guggenheim Museum decided to do the museum in Bilbao. They put Bilbao on a map of the world. So that tells you very quickly what the power of art and culture can do for you. When we give exhibitions, and the recent one was the exhibition of Hajj at British Museum, we try to show the world that Islamic art, which is one of the collections that we have, which is one of the largest in the world, what role can it play to bring people together? And the exhibition brought in almost 50-50. England, United Kingdom and London host about 2 million Muslims. But among the 2 million Muslims, 50% of the visitors who came to the exhibition were from Muslim origin, and the rest were the British. The reason was that they were anxious to know what Islam is about, what diversity of art of Islam is about. And that is true, not only for Islamic culture, but for any culture. Before I came in here, I was doing some research about what the Chinese are doing, and I realized that with a population of 1.2 billion, they are only realized that they have 2,000 museums, and they are trying to build almost 3,000 museums in 2015. That's compared to 19,000 museums throughout Europe combined, and 17,000 museums throughout the United States. The reason they are doing this is very simple. They realize that not only they have a responsibility of educating the public for the past and present culture of their own, but they have to make sure that they represent the culture and the diversity of art of other nations too. So culture and art is the right of every citizen in every country in the world. And once we understand that, we harness it. I was listening to the situation of Africa, and I asked before coming on the panel, what is the role of art and culture in Africa? I know, because I studied African art too, that a lot of it was colonized, a lot of it was built on the colonization attitude, and some of these arts are now decorating major museums around the world, which is not a bad thing in fact, because every art of each country which is shown in different museums around the world becomes the ambassador of that culture. So it's good that people go and visit certain museums as a visitor and fall in love with the culture of that country and become the ambassador of that country or ambassador of that culture. So there's nothing wrong with that. If it wasn't because of collectors and people like me, there wouldn't be any museum anywhere around the world, because we took the responsibility of correct them to make sure that we share them with the humanity. I was again discussing the same issue just before I sat down. A lot of people around the world call themselves a collector. That's a very tall order. Being a collector means you have to collect, you have to conserve, you have to publish, you have to exhibit, and share your passion with the public. At the end of the day, the fact is that life without passion is like a fire without a flame. And that flame can light the life of a lot of people. So the role of Africans, as I said, would be, if they want to bring culture and the representation of what they can do for the rest of the world, is that get not only the countries, because we understand that now through austerity, most of the major cultural institutions around the world are starving for money. So get private institutions to help. So create a private institution system and try to encourage some of the African artists to produce some local art and call it your local culture, and send that as your ambassador and create some sort of finances for some of the projects you are doing. If they do that through promotion and through the public sector, I think that's an idea that you could take to Africa. It could do much more than some of the affairs that you have undertaken in Africa. About the immigrant, and again, this is something that we discussed, the immigrants of any nation, but whatever you look at some of the melting pots of the world, the United States would have not been United States without having foreigners coming to the country. I suppose the United Kingdom would have not been United Kingdom without Indians and Chinese and everybody else who contributed to the nation. There is always the fusion of art, the fusion of culture, the fusion of know-how that the immigrant would bring to the country that makes the country prosper. And if the countries try to bring and harness the immigrants, their knowledge, their understanding, and make them a player rather than trying to use them as a labor, then the country would prosper. So I think majority of the countries who learn that this lesson, I suppose the United Kingdom as one of them, and Germany. Germany brought a lot of the Turks and make them part and parcel of the society after the war, and now are playing a huge role in the German society. So it's very much of a give and take. And but I'm going by finishing telling you a beautiful story. Give and take is like an empty tube. The empty tube on the surface of the sea stays afloat when the water goes in and goes out. So you give and you take. Try to close one side, it sinks. Try to float and not to sink. Thank you.